Welcome to Biztech's APAC Cybersecurity Show. Hi, I'm Brian Fernandez. Today we're going to talk about LogRhythm, a world leader in cybersecurity solutions. Now, to tell us more, we have Joanne Wong, Chief Marketing Officer at LogRhythm. Joanne, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Good day to you too.
Joanne, for a start, could you give us an overview of LogRhythm and its history? It's a company with quite an interesting history.
It does have an interesting history. So we are a 22-year company, and I've been with the company almost 10 years in November. It started out with two consultants who really saw an opportunity to help security analysts and teams identify threats that the companies were facing from a cybersecurity attacks point of view. And based on their interaction and their work with end user organizations, they felt that the key in detecting threats is visibility, and having visibility to logs was where they started off. So it's really a company that is after the hearts of security teams. Our goal really is to empower them with the most intuitive experience and contextual analytics into cyber threats of today. And you know, there are a lot of threats going on. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it's false positive. So the idea is to make the jobs of the analysts and the security teams as easy and as noiseless as possible to quickly secure their environment.
Okay. Given that perspective, and again, you have a global perspective as well. You've done some research now around the Asia Pacific region. Share with us some of the insights that have come out of your research.
Sure. I think the most interesting one is with regards to what the cybersecurity executives have alluded to us from their perspective, and then what we found in terms of how it connected to their customers' perspective. So one of the key points that I wanted to highlight on this chat was, while most security executives in the Asia Pacific region found that their cybersecurity programs, in fact, they rated more than 85% good or excellent, right?
Okay.
Which is a good number, so good confidence, right? And by and large, it's got to do with the investments that they've made, or increasing investments that they've made over the years, that they have this level of confidence. However, the interesting insight that we found with our survey is nearly half of them have acknowledged, right? These end user organizations and the cybersecurity executives have acknowledged that they have lost deals, right, to their customers because of a lack of confidence from their customers' perspective with regards to their cybersecurity programs. So I think that's an interesting one for them to acknowledge that. And out of those who lost deals, 72% of them indicated that it only happened in the last 18 months. So obviously, you know, we see a huge disconnect between the level of confidence and the gap with what the customer expects in terms of their vendors protecting their data. So that's the first one. Can I go to the second one?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So in terms of the rise of expectations of senior leaders, there is that expectation for them to be accountable for security breaches as well. And in the past, I think you would expect only the security or the cybersecurity team or their leader to be accountable. In our survey, about 80% stated that the CEOs should also ultimately bear the responsibility for protecting against and responding to cyber incidents. I wanted to share, you know, an interesting fact that for APAC, we saw an even higher number in Japan, and that was close to above 95%.
But that's also reflects the maturity of that market from a cybersecurity perspective. In Asia, they are one of the most aware and have been for a number of years, isn't it?
I would have to agree in terms of investment, awareness, training, and skill set. Yes. I think that number also speaks to the Japanese broader culture where, you know, the leader of a company has not just the responsibility, but also the accountability for both success and failures.
So, Joanne, so another thing that was interesting is from your survey, 98% of APAC businesses have changed their security strategy in the last 12 months. So that's fascinating. What's come about? That's what's brought out that startling number.
It is a huge number, and it's heartwarming because, APAC is by far one of the, fastest growing region from a tech adoption and digitalization perspective. And what's leading the way forward? It's AI, right? So AI utilization, about 77% of it, particularly with regards to threat management and just, in general, new cybersecurity solutions, was actually cited to be the primary driver for that change that we saw in that 98%.
This is also the fact that, and you're right, so AI, a big change. Also the fact that the whole landscape of attacker, defender has evolved so quickly because the attackers have adopted AI very, very quickly. The defenders, therefore, had to respond.
Absolutely. You're right. I mean, with the rise of AI, so I just want to preface that AI, it's not new, right? I mean, AI is many, many years. There've been professors and students who are studying it for at least 60 years, maybe even more.
And you and I, who have been in the technology business, we remember Watson from IBM.
Yes, Watson's, exactly. It's still alive, I think. Maybe in a better
in a newer form, I'm sure. But that was cutting edge maybe 20 years ago.
Yes, agreed. However, we have seen AI really taken flight in the last 5 years. And with that rise in taking flight of AI, the security leaders face new complexities and opportunities, like you mentioned. We are always playing a cat and mouse game, and we know that AI, just like with any technology, it can serve both good and evil. Unfortunately, because we read mostly, not positive news, it seems that the adversary is ahead of the game. I like to think that technology providers, particularly in the cybersecurity space, is catching up. If not, we are quite there in leveraging AI to enhance threat detection and response, because the AI is a powerful tool if used for good.
And also, Joanne, I want to just interrupt you a little bit because I want to get your insights around the fact that AI is also helping companies like you, and of course, for your clients, solve a very big problem within the industry, which is the lack of talent. And so by automating the processes and bringing intelligence into it, you basically reduce the amount of people necessary to achieve stuff.
Yes and no, but in case, the listeners are thinking we can replace, right, the whole security operations team with AI, not quite yet. However, leveraging AI will help security analysts be more efficient. So instead of having, a team of 100 plowing through millions and millions of data, AI or technology, enhanced by AI can help you streamline that and enabling efficient risk mitigation. But the human element is still very, very, very key in making that last mile, decision. So to your point, security operations platform, even the ones that we offer with the AI built in, provides the high accuracy in identifying the risk. It provides automated insights, as you alluded to, automation. And so you don't have to be a very seasoned and experienced analyst. You can be a junior, analyst starting out, and you are still able, with the help of AI and technology, to handle complex queries without needing the advanced technological knowledge. So that's where AI comes in.
I wanna pick on that point that you mentioned, the human element. One of the things that your survey also uncovered is the communication gap between security teams and non-security executives. Could you give us some perspectives then on the communication barriers and how this impacts the company's cybersecurity posture?
For sure. So in our study, we actually found that 59% of APAC security leaders still faced difficulties in conveying the importance of particular security measures to especially non-technical executives. It's almost like, two lingos that they speak. And we found only 61% who responded to the survey agreed that these non-security executives understand what they are obliged to from a company regulation perspective. So security teams who experience this challenge often fail to report on those key operational metrics that determine that measurable impact of security investments and strategy adjustments. So on the one hand, the non-executives, non-technical executives are saying, we've given you all this money, right? And investments, year in, year out, you might ask for more, you might ask for us to improve our security posture with investments. But on the other hand, the security teams are not able to, I wouldn't use the word justify, but demonstrate in an operational metric fashion how these investments are helping to mitigate those operational risks.
Then how would you suggest that as a leader in the cybersecurity space?
Sure.
This is a huge problem. How do you then, because this is especially now where we're in a phase of IT spend across the region, in fact globally, where a lot the CFOs of this world are asking, hey, I need a better ROI on this. The CEO is saying the same thing. We spent a lot of money over the last few years. How can then the CISOs communicate that return better in order to justify the spending?
Absolutely. So I think it starts with the CISO really understanding the business risks and the challenges that the non-security executive team members face. When you have a very business-savvy CISO who can understand the risk, he can share that what he's doing in a fashion, in a business way that the non-technical executives can understand. So organizations can help facilitate, this collaboration opportunities between security and non-security teams and leaders, so that you can foster a better shared understanding of each team's, not just responsibilities and risk, but their team's requirements. So I talk about risk all the time. Security is really about managing risk. So how do you manage a risk if you don't understand it? So you have to start by learning, and understanding those risks. So business risk may be translated to cybersecurity risks. So when you understand those risks, you are more able to make well-informed decisions, and you can allocate your resources, to safeguard your organization's most treasured possession. And usually it is your client and the data, because the truth is you can't protect everything, but you want to be able to at least prioritize, what is most treasured in terms of your assets. And so that is part and parcel of managing risk. And of course, increased investments in cybersecurity solutions must always be complemented with automation of technologies for reporting. I think I talked a bit about the automation, and you mentioned it. It's really important to be able to report things that matter to both technology and non-technology leaders.
And also, I want to add to that, Joanne, the regulatory framework and compliance also then helps the CISO to then justify the investment. Because let's use Singapore as an example. Now, there's just been a recent update in May for the cybersecurity bill. There's now a growing emphasis for companies to maintain and higher levels of reporting. How do you see that impacting not only Singapore, but obviously then the regulatory framework across the region?
So I don't know if you know this, but I'm a lawyer by training, so I love these compliance questions. At the same time, I mean, Singapore has got one of the most robust legislations in the world. And what I really like about the proactiveness is, they wrote this bill in 2018, but they keep going back and, improving on it because the environment has changed, right? The need to be even more robust with the legislations to help organizations place priority and importance, not just an investment, but it has to be top of mind, has to be really applauded. And I do see the regions around Singapore, they do tend to watch us, right, very, very closely as far as new legislations and policies are concerned. So I do see other countries kind of taking a page and following soon with changes of their own. I think from a company perspective, when you see something like the legislation being tightened, they do need to be mindful of how can we, what steps do we need to take? How can we implement better security programs to ensure that we don't run foul of it? I mean, at the end of the day, the legislation is to help organizations prioritize their investments. It's not really a stick or carrot approach, but on the other side, we don't want organizations to just do it for a tick in the box, because then that defeats the whole purpose of cybersecurity, right? You don't want it to be just a tick in the box. You want to be really thoughtful and mindful about the steps that you're taking, and then implementing, modern technologies like security information and event management, or SIEM solutions that helps you to detect and collect information, will help you manage some of this risk that the government is saying you need to pay attention to, right? You can't detect threats or breaches. I mean, breaches is already, that's it. They've come in, they have taken over. So what you want to do is to be able to detect the adversary as they're coming in, because it takes them time to get into your network and find your treasured assets, whether it's your customer data, it's your company IP. So real-time security monitoring is key. You cannot protect what you cannot see. I mean, that is a very common saying, but it goes beyond that. You need to be able to see it quickly, right? Because seeing it 5 days later or 5 months later, it's going to be way too late. So that's, again, where AI can elevate technologies and security operations to ease the load, to speed up the time to detect and to take action.
Joanne, this has been a very informative conversation. I have learned a lot. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to share with the audience, with particularly the CISOs that are watching this right now, and why and how LogRhythm can help them?
Sure. So from a CISO's perspective, I would say, there is no one single bullet that's going to help you solve your day-to-day challenges, or what keeps you up at night. And if anybody tells you they are pulling wool over your eye. It's, and they know this, right? The cybersecurity, it's a journey. And pulling in and adopting cybersecurity technology is very, very helpful. We always talk about people, process, and technology. So, have a good, strong team that you can depend on, encourage them, give them, good training, build in good processes, and weigh in on good technologies. And when you're doing that, look for a trusted partner who will deliver on the promises that they make. And on that note, LogRhythm has delivered 8 consecutive quarters in our updates for our solution set. And we are so happy to talk about our 9th consecutive quarter on 1st July.
Joanne, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for taking your time to be on.
I appreciate your time, Brian. Have a great day.
We've been speaking to Joanne Wong, Chief Marketing Officer of LogRhythm. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to Biztech's APAC Cybersecurity Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.